Every single time I see someone's post online, they're either going on vacation, no matter what's happening, they're not home for 3 or 4 or 5, 7 days. I look at the post and I giggle all the time because both of my systems have been just rolling on their own every single week, minimum 3 or 4 days. Today, we'll be talking about 5 items that help me overall in reef keeping and help me sleep better while I was away. And yeah, some of the aquarium controllers can do that, but today we're not talking about controllers. Some of these items are honestly too obvious, as some are just familiar, and maybe some of these you never heard of. But if you're a beginner and you're just now jumping into the reefing hobby, consider purchasing these 5 items. All of these 5 items are kind of helping one another and helping you as a reefer while at home to manage your system and of course while you're away. So what am I talking about? First item on the list is going to be Casa Smart Power Strip. Second thing on the list is going to be any indoor camera. There's a bunch of them out there. I've been using Vice camera for years, never had issues with them. Third thing on the list is going to be Nest thermostat. Fourth thing on the list is going to be your temperature controller for your heaters. And fifth thing on the list is going to be your automatic feeder. Right off the bat, guys, this is not review of any of these items. These items is just stuff I've been using for all these years while I was reefing. I never had issues with them, never a single problem, so that's why I'm putting them out there so you guys can know about them. As I mentioned, first thing on the list is Casa Power Strip. So what actually Casa Smart Power Strip is? It's basically a power strip that comes with a free app, so there's no subscription on it or any other items I'm mentioning today. And with that app, what you can do, you can actually schedule when you can turn on and off things, or you can go straight inside the app and just turn on and off things just manually. What I like about it, while you're away from home, you can turn on and off heaters, fan, anything you need to plug in and plug out while you're away from home, you can just do it on the app. If my wife tells me, hey, something's beeping in the tank, I know right away what's happening. It's my temperature control alarms me that my temperature reached a certain point in my tank. And right off the bat, I can just go inside the app, just turn on the fan, turn off the heater, go to my Nest app, just lower the AC, and I'm good to go. Or every single time I feed the tank, I just go inside the app, press the button, the turn pumps off, feed the tank, turn it back on. So I don't need to go and tinker in my cabinets with electricity. I can just turn it on and off my app, that easy. Even though on that tank I have a Neptune Apex, I'm using the Casa Power Strip as well, because obviously you don't need to plug in everything into your Apex. I know that some folks are purchasing the Casa small plugs, and those have their own purposes as well. For instance, I've seen lots of people, if they have a big fish room or they just have lots of outlets to turn on and off stuff, like for instance lighting, they'll plug in a regular power strip into that small plug, and in that way they can control the lighting in their whole fish room. Second thing on the list is going to be indoor cameras. There's lots of them out there. There's affordable ones, there's more expensive ones. I usually like to get 2 that come in one pack, and that way I get them cheaper. I know there's fancy ones out there that can pan, tilt, zoom in, zoom out. You can go that route, of course, as well. But what I like to get is 2 of them, so I can face one towards my tank, so I can see how just everything's going in my tank, and I can see that water rippling on top, so I know that my return pump is working. And second one, I like to position either on this tank on the back or the other tank in the sump, just so I can see that ATO sensor, so I can see that my water level is where it should be. I can see my skimmer if it's full. I can see the light on my dosing pumps to check if they're on and they're connected to the internet. And of course, I can see my thermostat or whatever I have going on, temperature controller, so I can see the current temperature of my water as well. And in that way, in an affordable price, I have everything covered that I need. And I usually, before I go to bed while I'm away from home, I look at my cameras, I make sure that everything is good. And that way makes me just stress-free and makes me just sleep way better, knowing that my tanks are doing well. I've heard a lot of bad reviews on Nest thermostats as far as reefers go, but I'm not sure if they know that when you go on the app, there's a schedule option. You go on the schedule, and it shows you every day of the week by every hour, and you can set up your AC or your heater to kick in every single hour on certain temperature. And that way you can just keep it in whatever temperature you want to keep it. And yes, Some of the Nest thermostat have the option to save your electricity. Basically, when you're not home, if it's summer, they'll turn off your AC. Or if it's winter, if you're not home, then turn off your heater. But when you go in the schedule option, and if you set it up how I just told you, you don't have that problem. And of course, while you're away, if you have your camera positioned that way, you can see temperature of your tank, and if it's too high or too low while you're away from home, you can always go in the app and just control your home temperature with it. Fourth thing on the list is gonna be a temperature controller. And I know all of you newbies out there are just gonna buy heaters, just plug them in and put in your tanks. And all of you guys that have been in the hobby for a while either have a temperature controller or have an Neptune Apex or any other controller that controls your temperature in your tank. But if you're a beginner and you're considering setting up a reef tank, don't skip on this. This one is very important, and that's why I added it to this list, since a lot of the heaters they're produced for aquarium industry these days are not as good quality. The one I've been using for a while is Eheim, just because they're affordable and they'll last me for a few years. Purchase 2 small heaters instead of 1 big heater. If you don't decide to purchase an Eheim heater, I would purchase any heater out there that has a thermostat on it already. It has either a little knob or whatever it has, so you can control it without a temperature controller. And in that way, when you set up your temperature controller, you can set up your heater just a little bit higher, so they're a backup on top of your controller. If you implement everything what I just mentioned, you will eradicate most of the problems that folks have these days with their heaters. Fifth thing on the list is going to be automatic feeder. Of course, we have to keep our fish nice and fed, and sometimes when we're home we forget to feed them, or when we're away we have automatic feeder to take care of them. The one I've been using so far is Eheim type. It doesn't matter which one you get, just do a lot of research and just use whatever you like. I've been using this one and never had problems with them. I have 3 of them, and so far I don't think I replaced the batteries on them at all. Of course, I don't suggest for you guys to do that, but I'm just saying they're gonna last you for a long time and they won't really waste batteries that quick. The one thing, every single time I come back home, first thing what I do, of course, is look at my tank, make sure that everything is good, that corals aren't touching corals. I look at the fish, how they're looking. And the second thing what I do, I always press the button on my automatic feeder and make sure when it makes a circle, so it drops in a tank, the amount that I actually want them to drop. Since the feeder is constantly feeding every single day, multiple times sometimes, you gotta make sure that the opening on the feeder doesn't get clogged. What I like to do is at minimum once a week, I like to just press the button, just make sure that it's dropping amount of food that I want it to drop in a tank. And especially if you like SPS corals, you're gonna make sure that that thing is dropping constant the same amount all the time. You don't wanna have your phosphate to nitrate rising or dropping. You want to have them stable constantly. And me, by checking that automatic feeder every single week and making sure it's dropping the same amount, and me feeding the same amount constantly in the tank, it just makes my phosphate to nitrate be where they should be. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I haven't mentioned aquarium controller at all. I do like them, but I do not suggest aquarium controllers for beginners. When you dip your toes into your reefing hobby and get all of your basics and if you decided you like it, this is something for you. Afterwards, you can get your SPS, you can get your acroporas, you can get your controller. But in beginning, and right now on this tank that you guys see behind me, these 5 things have helped me a lot in taking care of them while I'm home and while I was away. I haven't tried lots of things, but these 5 things are what I've been using for a while. They've been reliable for me, and that's why I made this video for you guys. If you guys like this video, drop that like, check out all my other videos. If you guys haven't seen my last video, I was visiting Justin at Reef Nation. If you guys like acroporas, you want to go check it out. With all that said, thanks for watching and see you guys in the next video.